The signal appeared on Dr. Park's monitor at 3:17 a.m. At first, he thought it was an equipment malfunction. The pattern looked too regular, too complex to be natural. He rubbed his tired eyes and ran the analysis again. The result was the same. "Director Kim, you need to see this," he said into his phone, voice barely above a whisper. Director Kim arrived at the observatory within 30 minutes. Her usual neat appearance was missing. Her hair was messy, and her jacket buttoned wrong. She leaned over Dr. Park's shoulder and watched the screen intently. "Have you confirmed this?" she asked. 3 separate systems. It's real. Within hours, observatories across Earth confirmed the same reading. Something was approaching from deep space, and it wasn't trying to hide. The news didn't reach the public immediately. World leaders met in emergency sessions. Military forces went on quiet alert. Scientists worked around the clock to decode the signals that now came regularly. "They're talking to us," Dr. Park told Director Kim on the 3rd day. "These patterns aren't random, they're a language." 3 days later, the vessels entered Earth orbit. Sleek and silver, they moved with impossible grace. People across the world stood outside, looking up at the strange ships that were visible even in daylight. The largest ship positioned itself over the Pacific Ocean, broadcasting a message in perfect English and 7 other Earth languages. "I am Admiral Tay of the Galactic Hegemony. Your world has been monitored and deemed ready for integration into our society. Your technology level qualifies you as a Class 3 civilization. Resistance is unnecessary and counterproductive." President Lee stood before the United Nations Assembly that evening, her face grim. "We will engage diplomatically with these visitors, but I have activated Protocol Omega, effective immediately." Across the world, hidden facilities hummed to life as humanity prepared for the worst. The first meeting took place on neutral ground, a platform built hastily in international waters. Director Kim represented the scientific community. Her hands shook slightly as the alien delegation approached. Admiral Tay was not what they expected. He looked almost human, except for his silvery skin and eyes that were too large. He stood tall and proud in a uniform of shifting colors. "We bring advancement," he said, his voice strangely musical. "The hegemony offers protection, technology, and purpose to all member worlds." "And what do you ask in return?" Director Kim questioned. "Resources, compliance, loyalty." Admiral Tay smiled, showing teeth that were perfectly white and slightly pointed. "A fair exchange." Behind closed doors, military analysts watched recordings of the meeting with concern. "They're not asking," General Choi said to his team. "This is a polite conquest." The aliens allowed a small human delegation to visit their command ship. The technology they saw amazed them. Artificial gravity, faster-than-light communications, energy weapons that could destroy cities with a single shot. "Your world will thrive under hegemony guidance," Captain Sung told them as he led the tour. "All 317 member species have benefited from our leadership." That night, President Lee met with her closest advisors in a room. "Swept for listening devices, they've done this before," she said. "Many times they know exactly what they're doing. We detected their scout ship 6 months ago," General Choi revealed, showing classified images. "We've been preparing since then." Dr. Park cleared his throat. "There's something else. Their technology is advanced, but some of it seems familiar, like they've borrowed from many species. Or taken," Director Kim added quietly. The next day, Admiral Tay presented formal terms of Earth's integration into the hegemony. Humans would maintain limited self-governance. Earth would provide raw materials and labor. In exchange, the hegemony would share some technology and protect Earth from cosmic threats. "We request 2 Earth weeks to consider your terms, Director," Kim stated calmly in the meeting. What the hegemony didn't realize was that humanity had been preparing for this moment. Hidden bases around the world contained weapons that shouldn't exist yet. Scientists had been working on reverse-engineered technology from a crashed scout ship that governments had kept secret for years. "Acceptable," Admiral Tay replied. "But, be advised, all resistance scenarios end with Earth's submission." As he left, he didn't notice the small smile Director Kim shared with General Choi. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They had judged Earth by its visible technology, not by its potential or its determination. "They're primitives," Captain Sung reported to Admiral Tay. They stood on the observation deck of the command ship, looking down at Earth's blue-green surface. Their most advanced weapons rely on chemical propellants and basic nuclear fission. Admiral Tay nodded, watching the holographic representation of Earth's defenses. The display showed military bases, missile silos, and naval fleets, all primitive by hegemony standards. And yet they developed radio astronomy and reached their moon without hegemony guidance. Curious. A statistical anomaly, Captain Sung suggested. Their war history is extensive. They spend more resources fighting each other than advancing their civilization. Admiral Tay zoomed in on Asia, studying the population centers. That might work in our favor. They lack unity. Below on Earth, unity was exactly what humans were building. In underground bunkers and secure facilities, military leaders from nations that had been enemies for generations now worked side by side. The human delegation arrived at the meeting point in Switzerland. Director Kim represented the Asian coalition, while General Choi spoke for the United Earth Defense Force, an organization whose existence had been classified until 3 days ago. "We are still reviewing your terms," Director Kim told the alien representatives. She wore a simple gray suit and kept her expression neutral. "Our governmental structures are complex. Your governments are inefficient," Admiral Tay replied. "The hegemony will streamline them." What the hegemony didn't realize was that humanity had been preparing for this moment since detecting their scout ships 6 months earlier. The scout, ship that had crashed in the mountains of a small Asian nation, had provided valuable insights into hegemony technology. "We have questions about the resource quotas you've proposed," General Choi said, opening a folder of documents. His military uniform was crisp, his manner professional. "These numbers would severely impact our industrial capacity. Adjustments will be made during the transition period," Captain Sung explained, his tone suggesting this was a generous allowance. "Your current industrial output is inefficient." Later that evening, Director Kim and General Choi met with President Lee via secure video link. "They're cataloging us," Director Kim reported, "assessing our value and threat level." "And?" President Lee asked. "They've severely underestimated both," General Choi answered. He opened his laptop to show satellite images of the hegemony fleet. "Their ships are powerful but not invulnerable. We've detected pattern fluctuations in their shield technology." Dr. Park joined the conversation, his eyes tired but excited. "The shield frequencies shift on a predictable cycle. If we time our weapons correctly, we can penetrate their defenses." In orbit, the hegemony science team made discoveries of their own. Lieutenant Ha studied genetic samples collected from Earth's environment. "Admiral, these humans have unusual adaptations," she reported. "Their stress responses are remarkable. Their bodies produce chemicals that enhance strength and reaction time when threatened. A common trait among primitive species," Admiral Tay dismissed. "Yes, but they maintain higher cognitive function during these responses," Lieutenant Ha insisted. "Most species become less intelligent when fight-or-flight responses activate. Humans become more focused." Captain Sung looked troubled. "A dangerous combination." On the 7th day of negotiations, a hegemony scout ship detected a hidden military facility in the mountains. When they approached for closer observation, Earth defense systems activated. The resulting skirmish was brief but significant. The scout ship retreated with minor damage. "They fired on a hegemony vessel," Captain Sung said angrily during the emergency meeting. "This violates negotiation protocols." "Your ship violated our territorial sovereignty," General Choi replied calmly. "We responded as any independent nation would." The tension in the room was thick. Both sides recognized this as a turning point. That night, the Hegemony Council held a virtual meeting. Hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy debated Earth's future. "This resistance is unusual but not concerning," High Counselor Jin stated. "All new species test boundaries." "Their technology is advancing rapidly," Admiral Tay cautioned. They've already adapted some of their weapons based on observing our ships. Then we should accelerate the integration process, another council member suggested. Limited military pressure often resolves these situations quickly. The vote was decisive. Earth would be given one more opportunity to accept terms peacefully. After that, the hegemony would demonstrate its power more directly. As the council meeting ended, Admiral Tay looked again at Earth through his viewport. The night side of the planet glittered with city lights. These lights would soon operate under hegemony control, he thought. What he didn't see were the lights that didn't show on the surface. The underground facilities where humans worked together, preparing defenses and weapons that shouldn't have been possible for their technology level. The clock was ticking for both sides. The hegemony's patience lasted 9 days. Admiral Tay stood on the bridge of his command ship, watching Earth rotate, slowly below. They've had sufficient time, he said to Captain Sung. Begin the demonstration. Captain Sung nodded and gave the order. Within minutes, energy beams shot from 5 hegemony ships, targeting Earth's satellite network. The precision was impressive. They disabled communication and military satellites while leaving scientific and weather monitoring systems intact. On Earth, screens went blank. Phone calls dropped. Internet connections failed in many regions. Admiral Tay's voice echoed through every remaining communication device on the planet. This demonstration should clarify your position. The hegemony offers progress, not destruction. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Resistance will only lead to suffering. In the underground command center beneath a mountain, President Lee watched the satellite feeds go dark one by one. Her face remained calm, but her knuckles were white as she gripped the edge of the table. Are we ready? She asked General Choi. He nodded once. Defense Plan Omega is active. All units are in position. President Lee took a deep breath. Then the time for talking is over. The response came not from words but action. From hidden bases in the Arctic, Atlantic, and Pacific, humanity launched its counterstrike. Missiles modified with technology reverse-engineered from a crashed hegemony scout ship years earlier shot toward the alien fleet. On the hegemony command vessel, alarms blared. Primitive missiles approaching, a crew member reported dismissively. Standard procedure, Captain Sung ordered. Activate shield grid. The shields hummed to life, creating a protective bubble around each hegemony ship. The first wave of missiles hit these shields and exploded harmlessly, just as expected. Then the second wave arrived. These missiles looked identical to the first, but they pulsed with energy that matched the fluctuating frequencies of the hegemony shields. Dr. Park's team had worked day and night to perfect the timing. Impossible, Captain Sung shouted as 3 support ships exploded in quick succession. Their weapons shouldn't penetrate our shields. Admiral Tay watched in shock as human fighter jets appeared, rising from hidden mountain bases and underwater facilities. These weren't the primitive aircraft the hegemony had catalogued. These moved faster, with more agility, and fired weapons that left energy trails. They've adapted our technology, Admiral Tay realized. But how? The battle above Earth lasted less than an hour. When it ended, 7 hegemony ships had been destroyed. 4 more retreated to the far side of the moon, with significant damage. The hegemony lost more than ships. During the battle, a scout vessel crashed into the ocean. Human special forces teams reached it before the hegemony could recover their people. They found Lieutenant Do injured but alive. In an underground facility, Lieutenant Do sat across from General Choi. His silver skin was paler than normal and his large eyes darted nervously around the room. The hegemony has conquered 37 worlds this way, Lieutenant Do revealed under questioning. None have ever successfully resisted. We're not like the others, General Choi replied. His voice wasn't threatening, just matter of fact. Lieutenant Do looked confused. But you're a Class 3 civilization. You shouldn't have been able to modify your weapons so quickly. Director Kim entered the room, carrying a tablet. She placed it on the table and slid it toward the alien. We found this in your ship's database. The screen showed images of other planets, Lieutenant Doe recognized them, all worlds that had been integrated into the hegemony, some peacefully, some through force. All of these civilizations had something in common, Director Kim continued. They developed in relatively stable environments. They had time to advance slowly. Lieutenant Doe looked up. And Earth did not? General Choi shook his head. Our planet tried to kill us every step of the way. Ice ages, supervolcanoes, pandemics, and when nature wasn't trying to wipe us out, we were fighting each other. Not an ideal developmental pattern, Director Kim admitted, but it made us adaptable, creative under pressure. Meanwhile, Admiral Tay was sending urgent messages to the Hegemony Council. Reinforcements were already on the way, but they would arrive expecting to find a subdued planet, not an armed and dangerous one. In cities across Earth, people watched the skies. The brief battle had been visible even in daylight, flashes of light and distant explosions. Now everyone knew the truth. Earth was at war with an alien empire. That night, President Lee addressed the world. Today, humanity stood together against those who would conquer us. This is only the beginning. But we have shown the hegemony something they never expected. Earth will not surrender. Admiral Tay watched the broadcast from his damaged flagship. For the first time in his long career, he felt something he hadn't experienced before: doubt. The hegemony reinforcement fleet arrived 11 days after the first battle. 30 massive warships emerged from faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, their hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. Admiral Ho, the fleet commander, expected to find Earth partially subdued and Admiral Tay's forces in control of orbital space. Instead, he found disaster. 20 hegemony ships destroyed? Admiral Ho could not hide his shock as he reviewed Admiral Tay's report. By a Class 3 civilization? Admiral Tay's image on the communication screen looked tired. His usually immaculate uniform was wrinkled. They are unlike any species we've encountered before. They've adapted our technology with remarkable speed. Impossible, Admiral Ho dismissed. Their industrial base cannot support such advancement. See for yourself, Admiral Tay replied simply. As the reinforcement fleet approached Earth, their sensors detected unusual energy readings. Scattered throughout Earth's orbit were hundreds of small objects that hadn't been there when the first hegemony ships arrived. What are these? Admiral Ho asked the sensor officer. Unknown, sir, the officer replied. They appear to be platforms of some kind, but they're emitting energy signatures similar to our own defensive systems. On Earth, President Lee stood in the Global Command Center. Screens showed the approaching hegemony fleet. Around her, military leaders from all major nations waited tensely. Are we ready, General Choi? She asked. He nodded. Defense grid is fully operational. All units are in position. President Lee took a deep breath. Open a channel to their command ship. On the bridge of the hegemony flagship, Admiral Ho received notification of an incoming transmission. He allowed it, curious what these primitives might say. President Lee's face appeared on the main screen. She wore a simple black suit, her expression calm and determined. I am President Lee of Earth, she began. You believed we would surrender because others have, but humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages, plagues, and our own wars. We will not be conquered. Admiral Ho started to respond, but President Lee continued. We prefer peace. But if you force this conflict, understand what you face. Humanity united is something the galaxy has never seen before. The transmission ended abruptly. Admiral Ho scoffed. Primitive bravado. Then Earth's hidden orbital platforms activated. All at once, hundreds of satellites that had appeared dormant now glowed with energy, each aimed directly at the hegemony fleet. How did they develop quantum displacement technology? Captain Sung whispered as the readings came in. He had joined Admiral Ho's ship after the first battle. That's centuries beyond their development stage. Admiral Ho watched the tactical display, his confidence wavering for the first time. Launch, fighters. Target those platforms immediately. But as the hegemony fighters approached Earth's defense grid, they encountered something else. Human spacecraft. that shouldn't exist. These weren't the chemical-powered rockets the hegemony had observed earlier. These ships moved with precision and speed that rivaled hegemony craft. They've built an entire defense fleet in less than 2 weeks, Admiral Tay observed. How is this possible? On Earth, Dr. Park monitored the battle from his console. The technology they'd adapted from the crashed scout ship had worked better than expected, but it still wasn't enough to defeat the full might of the hegemony fleet. Phase 2, General Choi ordered. Across the planet, hidden installations powered up. In the deserts, in mountain ranges, and beneath the oceans, massive energy weapons aimed skyward. Technology that humanity had developed in secret for years, now enhanced with hegemony knowledge. When they fired, they did so in perfect synchronization. Beams of concentrated energy shot toward the hegemony fleet. Where they hit, hegemony shields faltered. The humans are targeting shield frequencies with precision, a tactical officer reported to Admiral Ho. They shouldn't have that capability. 3. More hegemony ships exploded. 5 others suffered severe damage. Pull back to lunar orbit, Admiral Ho ordered. Regroup and reassess. As the hegemony fleet retreated, a small human ship approached under a flag of truce. Inside was Director Kim, carrying a data drive. Allowed onto the hegemony flagship, she stood before Admiral Ho with remarkable calm. This contains complete schematics of Earth's defense systems, she said, placing the drive on the table. Study it carefully. Admiral Ho looked suspicious. Why would you share this? So you understand what you face, Director Kim replied. This is just what we built in 2 weeks. Imagine what we'll have ready in a month. She turned to leave, then paused. The hegemony conquers to acquire resources and subjects, but if you continue this fight, you'll find neither here, just ashes. As Director Kim's ship returned to Earth, Admiral Ho reviewed the data. His face grew paler with each passing minute. These humans, he said to Admiral Tay, they're not just fighting us, they're learning from us. For the first time in 800 years, the hegemony faced a choice. True negotiation or a war they might not win. The Hegemony Council convened an emergency session for the first time in 800 years. Representatives from 317 species gathered in the virtual meeting space, their avatars showing their concern. High Counselor Han, one of the oldest members of the council, spoke first. His avatar glowed brighter than the others, signaling his seniority. Admiral Ho has submitted a disturbing report about Earth, he began. It appears our standard protocols have failed. The report played for all to see. It showed Earth's unexpected defense capabilities, the rapid adaptation of hegemony technology, and the unusual unity humans displayed when threatened. Earth must be classified as a death world species, High Counselor Han declared. Their adaptability and aggression exceed all standard parameters. This announcement caused a stir among the council members. Death world classification was rare, given to species that evolved in particularly harsh environments. Such species were usually approached with special protocols, or avoided entirely. Do we abandon integration efforts? Asked one counselor. No, Admiral Ho replied from his ship near Earth. That would create a dangerous precedent, but I recommend negotiation instead of conquest. This suggestion shocked many council members. The hegemony rarely negotiated with Class 3 civilizations. After 3 days of debate, the council reached a decision. Earth would be offered membership in the hegemony as an autonomous world, a status usually reserved for much more advanced civilizations. On Earth, preparations for a long war paused when the hegemony requested new talks. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a platform built in Earth orbit. Representatives from both sides gathered around a large table. Admiral Ho led the hegemony delegation. His expression remained neutral, but his posture had changed. The confidence was still there, but the dismissiveness was gone. The Hegemony Council recognizes Earth's unique status, he announced. We offer membership as an autonomous world, with your sovereignty intact. President Lee studied the alien carefully. And what does the hegemony gain from this arrangement? Cultural exchange. Limited technology sharing, trade rights. Admiral Ho listed the terms. and the knowledge that Earth is an ally rather than an enemy. 3 months after first contact, Earth and the hegemony signed the Sol Treaty. Earth would maintain its independence while joining galactic society on its own terms. Humans would have rights to explore and colonize their own solar system without interference. Limited technology exchange would benefit both sides. Director Kim and General Choi stood beside President Lee as the treaty was finalized. The document was signed in a ceremony broadcast across Earth and to all hegemony worlds. "You could have conquered us eventually," President Lee told Admiral Ho privately after the ceremony. The two leaders stood by a viewport, looking down at Earth's blue surface. "Your forces outnumber ours thousands to one." Admiral Ho's expression remained serious. "Perhaps, but your people would have fought until nothing remained of value on your world. The hegemony conquers to acquire resources and subjects, not radioactive wastelands." Director Kim joined them carrying a small wooden box. "A gift to mark this historic day," she said, offering it to Admiral Ho. Inside was a simple earth plant, a small bonsai tree. "On Earth, this represents harmony between strength and flexibility," she explained. "It must be carefully tended to thrive." Admiral Ho understood the message clearly. Back on Earth, humanity began to change. The unity forced by the hegemony threat didn't disappear with the signing of the treaty. Nations that had been enemies for generations now worked together on space exploration and defense technology. Dr. Park led a new international science team focused on adapting hegemony technology. Their first major success was a faster-than-light engine, smaller but more efficient than hegemony designs. "How did you improve this so quickly?" asked Lieutenant Ha, now serving as a hegemony liaison to Earth. "We approached the problem differently," Dr. Park explained. "The hegemony values stability and predictability. Humans are comfortable with calculated risks." 1 year later, the first human ships ventured beyond the solar system. They carried Earth's flag alongside a simple message: "We come as equals." Throughout the galaxy, other species watched with interest and alarm as humanity took its place among the stars. Some hegemony members worried about the precedent Earth had set. Others were curious about this unusual species that had forced the mighty hegemony to negotiate. The hegemony itself changed too. New protocols were developed for first contact situations. More attention was paid to evolutionary history when assessing new civilizations. On the anniversary of the treaty signing, High Counselor Han met with President Lee on Earth. They walked through a garden in spring bloom. "Your world has changed the hegemony," he admitted. "That has not happened in millennia." President Lee smiled. "Change can be good even for ancient empires." "Indeed," agreed High Counselor Han, watching a butterfly land on a flower. "Perhaps especially for ancient empires."